Feedback is hard. It's hard to give feedback in a way that's effective. It's hard to receive feedback in a way that is productive. It's hard to consistently show appreciation and recognition to others. This is a challenge that I've been hearing a lot from leaders lately. And I've been asking them, what specifically is the biggest challenge you have around feedback? I have a fear of conflict, or I just avoid it. Taking feedback personally, being able to receive it well, being able to balance directness, not being too vague, not being too harsh, giving it in a timely, specific, actionable way, managing all the emotions. Some of you may be able to relate to some of those challenges, and I want to provide you some tips to be able to mitigate them. My name is Jen Reckla. I have experience in leadership for the last 15 years. I've led teams. I've worked in the learning and organizational development space for many, many years. And now I have my own practice, Reckla Coaching and Consulting. I'm a leadership coach, trainer, and speaker. And feedback is one of those topics that comes up with almost every client team that I work with. One of the teams I'm working with, they've been talking about creating a positive culture of feedback in their workplace. And I asked them, well, what does that look like? What's your ideal? You might not have that ideal in your head. I think the descriptors that they shared with me really encompass almost everything I would want to see in a positive feedback culture. This is what we should be striving for, that it's purposeful, it's growth oriented. People are receiving it productively. We are able to manage our emotional intelligence. It's timely, it's specific, it's actionable. That is what we're striving for. And I've got to start, before I share some practical strategies, I've got to start with mindset. Our mindset, it's the lens with which we see the world. It's influenced by our past experiences, and it shapes our thoughts, our beliefs, our attitudes, and all of that. It drives our behavior and it drives our actions and our results. So starting this feedback work, leaning into a growth mindset where we have the belief that failures and challenges are opportunities and possibilities is so key to sustaining the actions I'm going to share with you. So, a question to really dig into for yourself when you're embarking on this feedback work: what does a growth mindset look like for me? And what does it look like for my team? How can I lean more into this? Now, I'm going to share three specific focus areas for creating that feedback culture: recognizing your teams in ways that resonate, giving constructive feedback that drives growth, and receiving feedback with grace and confidence. When I'm talking about receiving feedback, I find having a framework around that very helpful. Because here is an example of recognition that I have held on to for the last 7, 8 years. This Wonder Woman is someone that I just adore, and this individual provided me with a card, a thoughtful note. It was very specific and it was sincere. It was genuine. Her words that she shared with me, it made me feel like I was very valued individual. So you want to ensure that this is a genuine expression of your appreciation. You also want to make sure that it's meaningful, that it's tied to your goals, it's tied to the vision of the organization, it's tied to values. When employees see their actions support one of these driving principles, they're more motivated to repeat that behavior again and again. Agile, meaning you're not always giving that Wonder Woman card to everyone when you appreciate them. You're changing up the different methods you use to appreciate others. That it's relevant to the person. That card, Wonder Woman was my favorite, is my favorite superhero. So it meant a lot to me to get that. I appreciate thank you cards. It's something I hold on to. So ensure that however you're appreciating the individuals on your team, they enjoy that. That is relevant to them. If someone hates public recognition, you don't want to provide them public recognition. So get to know your people and know what types of appreciation are relevant to them. And then assuring that you're not waiting too long to appreciate that individual. Schedule it, mark it on your calendar, mark it as a regular task that you are appreciating or recognizing someone from your team on a weekly basis. Now, when it comes to giving feedback, there are lots of great frameworks that are out there. I'm going to share two things with you that I think are most important. When it comes to giving constructive feedback, the most important piece of this, before you even have the conversation, is to ask yourself, what is your intention? If your intention is to punish, shame, blame, be right, win the conversation, that conversation is not going to be productive. That will automatically put the person on the defensive. So, stepping into the conversation with a healthy motive, a healthy intention, you want to support their growth. You want to see them succeed. You want to help them improve. You want them to create a great experience for others, for customers. Those are the intentions you want to walk in with. It is more about how you say it, not as much about what you say. So, make sure you have those intentions right. And then my other tip around feedback is ask the individual first. Ask them to self reflect. How do they think the presentation went? What's something that they thought that they did well? Any areas that they would do differently? How do you think that meeting went? How do you think that customer interaction went? So ask them first. Now, is this going to work every time? No, but I've used it a lot when I led teams, and 9 times out of 10, the individual says the feedback that I was going to share with them. They recognize it and they want to work on improving it. From there, you're just validating the perception they already have, and you're collaborating to come up with solutions to help them continuously grow. The last piece of creating that positive feedback culture is all in building your skills around receiving feedback. Providing education, building your skills on giving feedback, it's important. It can help, but it's not going to solve the problem alone. It's the receiver that decides what they're going to let in with that feedback, what they're going to make of it, and whether and how they choose to change moving forward. There's a great book I recommend. It's called Thanks for the Feedback by Douglas Stone and Sheila Heen. And in that book, they talk about 3 triggers that pop up for individuals when they are receiving feedback, whether the content of the feedback is true or whether they believe that it's wrong and inaccurate. The relationship piece is all about, who are you to give me this feedback? There's some kind of challenge with the relationship dynamics, and you don't trust the person giving you that feedback. Or the feedback is challenging your self identity, how you see yourself, how you see your self worth. So, I'm going to give you one strategy to help mitigate each of these triggers. With the truth trigger, we're trying to determine what is true about this, what is not. Typically, this trigger pops up when we think, oh, this is wrong, this is inaccurate, this is unhelpful. So, the best way to help combat this is not to accept or reject the feedback. I know it's hard, but not initially accepting or rejecting it and stepping into curiosity to find out more. So, if somebody says, you're not very strategic, okay, what are some specific examples that you can share when I didn't show up strategically? Can you think of examples when I did? So you have a comparison. So dig in and get some more information. If it's a relationship challenge, this is usually coming up because you either don't trust the person, you don't think they're a credible source, they don't have the expertise, or you don't like how they treat you. They disrespect you. They've given you feedback in the past and it felt manipulative. So those two things pop up. The biggest strategy you can focus on with this to help mitigate it is separate the relationship issue with the feedback that they're giving. So separate the content of the feedback from the challenges that you have around the relationship and have 2 separate conversations. And then the last trigger that comes up for people is around identity. This is how we see ourselves, how we see our capabilities, our skills, our values. And we feel like that's being challenged with the feedback that we're getting. The biggest thing that you can do here is step into that growth mindset that I mentioned. Look at this feedback as not a personal attack on me, is really an opportunity for me to grow and continuously improve. So those are the 3 main focus areas to help you step into receiving feedback well. And when you do that, when people seek constructive feedback and they can receive it well, they adapt more quickly to roles, they have higher satisfaction, and they have higher ratings on their performance reviews. So, as you're creating this positive feedback culture, recognize people in meaningful ways that are relevant to them. Focus on your intent before giving feedback, and then understand your triggers when you're receiving feedback and use the strategies to receive that more effectively in the future. Thank you so much. I hope that these tips were helpful for you, and I hope to see you in a future video.